Bonjour, 1 million cups, Fargo. Let's do this again. Bonjour, 1 million cups, Fargo. Okay, I'm gonna say bonjour, and you say bonjour back to me. So, bonjour, 1 million cups, Fargo. Bonjour, my name is Alexandre Cusa, honored and pleased to be here with you. I'm your welcome host. What an amazing day. The room is packed, and I know we're live streaming as well in other towns, so bonjour Jamestown, bonjour Bismarck, Napoleon, North Dakota, Rugby, North Dakota, Havana, North Dakota, even some people out of state, I believe, Moorhead and Florida. So bonjour to everyone on the thing. So first I want to acknowledge, so on such a packed room with amazing new faces, who is new in the room? Who is new? Yes, give it up for the new people. I know we even have some guests from Brazil. If you're from Brazil, yeah, thank you for being with us. Flew in from Brazil because they heard about 1 million cups Fargo. Wow, thank you very much. So who's not so new? The recruiters. Recruiters, where are you? Thank you for recruiting. Recruiters, merci beaucoup. Now I want to acknowledge who's not so new. 10 times. So many times, can't count times. Merci beaucoup for coming back again and again. You're our best ambassadors. But new people, if the not so new people haven't told you why we meet every week here, let me tell you why. 1 Million Cups is our weekly event where we get to connect, consult, and listen to local, regional, national, and once a year, living legends. Living legends, give it up, give it up. And one fun fact, 1 Million Cups Fargo is the most attended 1 million cups in the nation. So yes, 1 million cups. Thanks to all of you. So I want to end up with 3 thank yous. The number 1 thank you is thank you to Emerging Prairie for curating memorable world-class experience events where it gets to put Fargo on the map, on the global map, again and again, and also creating platforms where we all get to connect. The second thank you to all of you. Thank you for showing up for your community, showing up for each other, because without you, this event would not be possible. And the last thank you, as I invite my older brother from a North Dakotan mother, I want to take this time to publicly say thank you to Greg. Can you tell us what's the name of my newly born nephew again?
Alexander.
What an amazing name. So again, thank you for choosing such an amazing name, Greg. And once again, this is Alexandre Cusa. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Alex. Well, good morning. Good morning and welcome to 1 Million Cups Fargo. Today is a very, very special today. It's our 3rd annual 1 Million Cups Living Legends Day. How many have been at Living Legends in the past? All right, well, it's going to be a fantastic day. We're going to break the script. We're going to have a lot of fun. But to kick things off, we want to get you exposed to our community. Find out the activities and events that are happening to get you more engaged in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. First, we want to thank Heat Transfer Warehouse. They're our sponsor today. They bought all of you coffee, so big thanks to Kirk and his team at Heat Transfer Warehouse. The ironic thing is Kirk doesn't drink coffee, but he knows you do. So thank you, Kirk, for that. We have a series of announcements. So we want to give our friends at the Possibility Symposium, past speakers, the founders of the Hopeful Heart Project. Join me in welcoming to the stage Jen and Kayla of Hopeful Hearts.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming this morning. Like Greg said, my name is Jen, and yes, as past speakers of the Possibility Symposium, I want to encourage you guys to all attend this year. It is a short 3-hour event where you will be hearing from social entrepreneurs that you absolutely should be supporting and hearing about in this community. And it deeply affected our experience and as we've grown our nonprofit organization.
Hi, I'm Kayla, and I'm the other co-founder of Hopeful Heart Project. Like Jen said, we were past speakers last year, and so we, again, want to invite all of you to join. If you would like to attend, tickets are available on Eventbrite, and they are $10 a ticket, so we hope to see you all there.
Thank you.
All right, October 9th, our friends at Minnesota State University Moorhead are hosting. Up next, we have an opportunity to hear from one of our past TEDx Fargo performers about a TEDx Farmer announcement. Join me in welcoming on stage Officer Bloom.
What's up? So, who went to TEDx Fargo this year? Man, that was my first year, and you, my man, do an amazing job with that event, an incredible event. I encourage you to go next year. And also, if you've ever had a dream to speak or perform there, this coming October 22nd, so October 22nd of next month at 7 p.m. at the Prairie Den downtown, they're having an open mic night for community members to share both their ideas and a chance to present on the stage at TEDx this next summer. So if you go to TEDxFargo.com, TEDxFargo.com, that's where you register for October 22nd at the Prairie Den. So if you want to perform, if you want to speak, that's the open mic night to be there. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Officer Bloom. It seems like everybody's getting the Fargo bug. Turns out the folks at the Aspen Ideas Festival are saying Aspen's great, but we're coming to Fargo. Join me in welcoming to the stage Simone, who's helping bring the Aspen Ideas Festival to our community. Let's welcome Simone!
Hello, I'm super excited to announce that the Aspen Institute and the Aspen Ideas Festival are coming to Fargo to give us a little taste of what the festival is like for Fargo ideas. So it'll be an evening of conversation. They're bringing in speakers, regional, local, and national speakers to have an evening of conversation that'll all be moderated by senior editors of The Atlantic. So it's going to be an awesome night. To be able to welcome our friends from the Aspen Institute to Fargo. So if you want to learn more information, see our speaker lineup, that's all at fargoideas.com. And if you pick up a ticket, you can use the code 1MC to get $10 off. So we'll see you there.
Hey, thanks for your leadership, Simone. All right, in the spirit of oversharing and not signing your NDAs, I'd invite my friend Taya from the TechSpark team at Microsoft to make an announcement that's going to make a big impact in our community. Join me in welcoming Taya.
First of all, can we talk about what's on the stage here? Are you announcing this, talking about what's going on with this beautiful arrangement, the flowers? And Christy knows I'm a fangirl, so love always, love it, love it, love it. Anyway, my name is Taya. I'm from Microsoft. We have a great event coming up, a past TEDx speaker that spoke last year, the president of a small company called Microsoft. Brad Smith is coming to town, so he's going to be here on his book tour. He wrote a book. It's fabulous. If you haven't read it yet, anybody in here read it, gotten a copy yet? It's amazing. Thank you, Sandy. You know, it's not that tech book where you're going to fall asleep because it's a lot of techie. He's all about telling a story. If you heard him last year talk about TEDx, it's about stories, and there's a lot of amazing stories, and it's called Tools and Weapons Around Technology. So get your hands on it. Come October 17th. We're going to be at the NDSU Alumni Center from 3 to 4. Dr. Shu is in here somewhere. She's going to be our moderator. So it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of energy, and we hope you guys can join us. So thank you much for the opportunity.
All right, thank you, Taya. Just another corporate executive hanging out in Fargo. Up next is Brian, the director of the Grand Farm, to give you an invitation to Cultivate, Emerging Prairie's Ag Tech Conference. Welcome, Brian.
Thanks, Greg. So as we build out our world-class ecosystem within ag technology, we have our premier event, which is called Cultivate, on November 14th. We expect to have over 600 people in attendance, 300 farmers, and we're going to bring technologists in that are focused on ag technology along with venture capital. So this big mix of people are going to result in some things that are really interesting. So get your tickets, early bird tickets, and you can get that at the code on the board. Thank you.
Brian, will there be the Angry Farmer panel again?
We will have the panel again, and we might be adding to it as well.
All right, well, thank you, Brian. If you want to get involved in Cultivate, Thursday, November 14th, we'd love to have you there. Also, we got a special announcement. From the beginning of 1 Million Cups, we had an incredible coffee provider. We found 20 Below was going to be opening a storefront, and we said, hey, would you want to provide cups of coffee for 1 million cups? We thought we would average between 12 and 16 people a week. They said, yes, we'll do that for you. Little did I know, they were getting up early in the morning to make the coffee out of their home before the store opened. As this platform grew, they had to get up earlier. So I want to invite Drew and the team at 20 Below Coffee to come up and share a community announcement that I think you'll be excited about. Join me in welcoming to the stage, Drew! Oh, the whole team is here. Holy cow, it's like WWF.
Yeah, we all wanted to be here because this community means so much to us. You know, it's easy to say that it would be that we couldn't do it without you, but we actually could not have done this without our longest-standing client. Many of you are customers, and we are coming to Moorhead. We'll be on 8th Street. Yeah, we're just so grateful, one, to have the chance to thank you all. Thanks, Greg.
One more quick question. Do you guys still brew out of your houses in the morning?
No. we, it did take like 3 hours, so we would get up at 5 in the morning to be here at 9 and deliver the coffee, and we'd just sit in the kitchen and do pour-overs over and over and over and over again, because we didn't have a big machine. Now we have big machines. That's really nice. Thank you.
All right, let's give a round of applause. Hey, thank you guys. We appreciate it. Let's support these folks. New companies, growing, it's all good. We believe entrepreneurs drive our economy. We see the growth, we see the excitement of Aldevron and all these companies, early stage, established, but we also know culture matters. And so one of the things that we've pioneered in the 1 Million Cups community around the country is random acts of art. Today, we bring to you a City of Fargo employee that the city took a risk on Officer Bloom in 2015, invited him from California to join our staff. He's made a massive impact, and he's here today to perform random acts of art. Join me in welcoming Officer Bloom!
Man, well, thanks for having me. I love talking to people and sharing with people, and I'm going to do like a spoken word rap for you this morning. But before I do that, I just want to share just a very, very short thing about myself. I'm super, super passionate about people, okay? Like, I'm so passionate. And everyone in here is passionate about something. And I want to be real with you on something real quick. Never apologize for your passion. Never apologize for it. Never step back of agriculture, of business. Whatever your passion is, never apologize for it, because that's going to change the city. It's going to impact people, and it's going to reach platforms that people like me can never reach. So be passionate on purpose. Live on purpose with your passion. My passion is at-risk kids. You say, why do you rap, Officer Bloom? I rap because I work with kids in correction centers and treatment centers, and I work with a lot of kids from the foster care system, and they don't have dads or they don't have moms, and hip-hop is the way I engage them and connect with them. So this is something I wrote a while back. I rapped it at TEDx, but I'm just going to rap it almost like a spoken word type, and just hope you enjoy. So it goes like this. Yo, move forward, don't fake it. Life's a risk, man, I want you to take it. And it's okay if you go ahead and break it. Great minds figure out how to remake it. Keep your strength up, keep your grind right. You will go 12 rounds in life's fight. You will break down the field, broken at times. But the grind is what allows you to shine. Yeah, in the struggle, I know it gets tough. It's hard to keep moving when you always feel stuck. Sometimes you feel like enough is enough, but I'm here to tell you that you are loved, eh? Got a broken past, yeah, well, so do I. I had scars on my soul on the inside. Had to let go of my heart and my mind. Step out and let my light shine. We're all in a race where we lose our place. But stay in your lane, man, and keep your pace. Because you say you are good, but you're called to be great. And you'll change the world, do whatever it takes, like resurrect, reinvent. Time spent on your dream is time well spent. I don't really mean to sound so direct, but to give up on your gift, that's ignorant. Keep moving, take action. That's the only way that you gain traction. And stop waiting for the past to happen. You feel like a joke, but nobody's laughing like. And see, so many kids I step into life with feel like a joke. And they feel like a mistake. And so much of what you are doing in this room, you have no idea. So much of what you are doing is impacting people in our community who feel like a joke or they've lost it all or can't make it. And you're a light and you're an inspiration to our city and to our world. So never apologize for your passion. Never apologize for your gift. And if you're listening to the wrong voice, tell that voice to shut up and start listening to some new voices. Because you have a great purpose on this planet. So live on purpose. Thank you. Have a good day.
Today is a very special 1 Million Cups. We're grateful for our friends at Click Content Studios that are going to capture this video, send it off to the digital world, but they're live streaming on all the forum properties, so we're grateful for them. We've got two incredible speakers, and so we're going to break the script a little bit, and we're going to have our friends interview some of our living legends. When we think about who to invite for living legends, we think about people that have pioneered industries, that have taken risks, and have provided a better future for the people of our region. It is my great honor to introduce to you our folks that are going to interview our living legends, and they're truly remarkable folks themselves. So the first is the youngest president in the history of education for a university in the United States. I believe he was the 6th president. He's the oldest of 8 children. He grew up in a small town in North Dakota on a farm. He was a high school, teacher or something for Cam Knutson, and thank God you were there for Cam, Monsignor. but he's truly one of our great thought leaders, value transfers, and champions of education. Join me in welcoming to the stage Monsignor Shea. And our second leader that's going to be interviewing one of our living legends is Pat Trainer. Pat's an entrepreneur. He's a recovering attorney that happens to be a risk taker. He's somebody that challenges all of us to be the most generous place in the planet. He's a mentor, he's a friend, and he's a cheerleader for entrepreneurs. Join me in welcoming to the stage Pat Trainer.
I'm really happy to be here with you this morning, and I'm a great admirer of Greg Tavine. Greg, thanks for all you do, not just for the community of Fargo. You're a real champion for this community, but for the state of North Dakota, too. Greg has gotten me to do things that I never would have done otherwise. It's a great joy for me to introduce to you this morning Sister Thomas Welder, and I want to just address why Sister Thomas might have been asked to be here this morning. First of all, why is she a living legend? And second, how is she an innovator? Why is she a living legend? Sister Thomas is a towering figure in so many hearts, but she's a very down-to-earth figure in her own heart. She will, I know, forgive us for placing her, as we do this morning, on a pedestal, for this is where she's most uncomfortable. I hope she graciously allows us to admire her and to love her, to show us by her example a beautiful way to be in the world. For 31 years, Sister Thomas guided the University of Mary, pioneered our progress from a small college to train teachers and nurses, to university status, and to really impressive growth. Her achievements, Sister Thomas's achievements, are built upon a platform of strong faith and living out of that faith in a life authentically dedicated to the well-being of others and serving everybody she meets with great love. The university's growth that I inherited in large part is a result of her character, her leadership, and the way that she's lived her life. It's that character, it's that bedrock self of humility and humanity and warmth that's cast such a long shadow in the minds of those who know her. Sister Thomas is simply herself in every situation, with every person, and that is a rare quality. We all love her buoyant hope and her belief in God's guidance and goodness. She truly belongs in the Rough Rider Hall of Fame, which, as you know, is North Dakota's highest honor. Her achievement is more than a university presidency, which frankly any dummy can do. It's that higher dimension of moral courage and radiant love for generations of students who have encountered her, and that's her place here as a living legend. And briefly, how has she been an innovator? Of course, and in more ways than the obvious ones of buildings and programs added. Her leadership at the University of Mary in North Dakota has been tenacious and forward-thinking. She's done the unglamorous and difficult parts of her role by holding the vision of what could be always radiant in the forefront of her mind. Sister was never afraid to innovate, and she'll always respond that she didn't do this alone because she believes deeply in the blessing of access to liberal arts education that prepares people for excellence in their career, and more than that, for flourishing in their lives. Her life has been dedicated to the well-being of others, of pouring herself out in love to those she serves. Sister Thomas, deeply formed by the rule of St. Benedict, truly sees you. She truly hears you. And that, my friends, in the world that we live in today, is all too rare. The fifth president of the University of Mary, Sister Thomas Welder. Thank you.
So it's a great pleasure to be here today. Are we on now? Pat Trainer with Dakota Medical Foundation, friend of Greg, and he also roped me into to a lot of crazy things in my career. But I'm most honored today to first of all recognize Sister Thomas. Sister Thomas, one of the women I admire the most in the world, my mother Rita, you know what she has to say about you? She said in the 80s and 90s, she said, you watch this woman, you observe her because she is a living saint.
Oh.
Now, isn't that the most incredible thing? And that comes from Rita, who I believe everything she said. Jane, is that true? That is true. We all believe Rita. You know, I have the pleasure today to introduce what we think at DMF is really the kindest person that's ever graced the doors of our lives. Wouldn't we agree, staff, DMF team? Let's hear it for our friend Gary. So, you know, as I was trying to prepare for this, and we spent a lot of time preparing because there is too much material. And Greg introduced me as a recovering lawyer. I could be here for 3 days explaining the nuggets, the lessons learned. The humanity of Gary Tharaldson is extraordinary. So if there's two things that you'll remember, hopefully, from what my message is, kindest man you'll ever meet, super humble, the sharpest business mind ever. He thinks in a scale that we don't think in. I believe that he was sent to DMF to challenge the heck out of us, to solve more problems, to engage more people, to do more good for other folks, like he does with his businesses. So let me tell you, he is the first North Dakota Forbes-recognized billionaire. Billionaire. And I believe that if you were to do a scale of kindness, you know, kindness meaning if I had $1, if I had $1 million, if I had $1 billion, and I had $1 trillion, he'd be a trillionaire in kindness. Because the man is a super, super kind individual. I can tell you, Gary, my staff just loves it when you come to the office, brightens up everyone's day. No one's scared. They're all just looking for a Diet Coke. That's all they're looking for, is a Diet Coke. They love having him around. So let me give you a little background on Gary. So he grew up in Daisy, North Dakota. Does everyone know where Daisy, North Dakota is? Well, it's 28 miles north of Valley City. You know where Daisy is. And please don't spell it wrong. I got admonished for spelling it wrong yesterday with Gary. And I tried to blame it on my secretary, too, or my administrative professional. D-A-Z-E-Y, North Dakota. Humble beginnings. Humble beginnings. Do you know that Gary didn't have running water? He graduated from high school, and they didn't have running water. I said, how did you shower? He said, we didn't shower. He said, if I got a shower, he said, I love sports, so it was at the gym. They used a wash basin. So try to imagine how spoiled we all are. Did everyone take a shower this morning? 18 years. And, you know, some people talk about privilege and advantage. I believe some of the advantages that Gary had made him the person he is today. The advantage of a loving home. He had outstanding parents. His mother was a role model. You know, one thing she taught him, never hold a grudge. Never hold a grudge. And to this day, and in all his business dealings, what he does is he openly shares. The book, Open Secrets, he shared his formula for success to build 450, build, finance, operate over 450 hotels. That's thinking in a scale that most don't think in. Most think build an apartment, maybe have fix up some homes, do a few things, and it's a great life. Gary thinks in levels that normal people don't think in. That's one of his gifts. He played sports. He loves sports. He's a sports fanatic. Wasn't going to say freak, Gary. Sports fanatic. But I think he was a basketball star. He played football in his senior year halfback, and that's the first year they could field the team in that area. They didn't have a car till he was in 6th grade, so they took the train to Valley City to get supplies. But you know what? He lived on neighbors' farms for a year. He worked for $50 a month. He worked really hard. He milked cows. They had to go across the street to get the water for the house and the water for the cows. I mean, amazing. That's an advantage. That's an advantage, not a disadvantage. So we're super blessed to have Gary. I just want to go through the timeline, because I think the timeline's incredible. Greg gives me 30 more seconds. Thanks, Greg. 82, first hotel, Valley City. You can still see it today in Devil's Lake. 87, he sold 9 hotels, which really launched the recipe for success and gave him the capital to launch in a big, big way. Marriott joined him in the 90s. He expanded to California. He created what's one of the largest employee stock ownership plans in 1999. He sold a $1 billion company to his employees, and he loaned them the money to do that. So it was on a contract. His belief is to grow the wealth of those around him, which is part of his servant leadership. 2005, everyone remember the Westward Ho Hotel and Casino? He bought it and sold it within a year for a $108 million profit. 2008, difficult times, recession, mark-to-market. Gary had to recalibrate things. Some people told him we may want to consider bankruptcy. Not Gary. He built an ethanol plant. He built a hotel. He had friends and folks that were his business associates help him. His belief, be partners with your bankers and love your employees. 2018, I'm just going to fast forward. He sold 140 hotels in the meantime in 2006. Sorry about that, with Archon. And that was only several $100 million. The thing I want to get to is 2018. By the way, the whole time a giver to his employees and a giver to the community. There's a business school named after him, and they spend 4 years teaching the brilliance of Gary Tharaldson. His philanthropy, Hyperbaric Oxygen Treatment Center, it is remarkable. It provides oxygen in a chamber to folks suffering from concussion and post-traumatic stress disorder, veterans in particular. It is the greatest thing that he brought to Fargo. He had it built in 6 months. It's here. He has transformed the lives of hundreds of people here in Fargo-Moorhead. He is a blessing. Let's welcome Gary Tharaldson to the stage.
Thank you.
Pat, you know, I'm sure grateful to you, first of all, that you laughed at my joke this morning, even if you were a little slow on the uptake.
It was slow.
And I'm grateful as well that you mentioned that at the University of Mary we have the Gary Tharaldson School of Business. And so it's an honor for us, isn't it, Pat, to be here with people whom we admire so much. Gary Tharaldson truly is a tremendous North Dakotan. And I always feel like when we get a chance to have him with our students, it's pure gold, because they can draw near to a person that we want.
Distinct.
We want to showcase a person who they can be like, and they see in Gary somebody who has that possibility, that greatness of heart. Well, let's get going here. Sister Thomas, you know, you were thrust into leadership at a relatively young age. I know something about that. But I think you were maybe 37 when you were named president of the University of Mary. What were those early years like for you, and did you sometimes feel overwhelmed? How did you cope?
I had certainly an advantage, and that is that I had been at Mary for 15 years. It's my only ministry. In addition to that, the school at that point was 20 years old, and we had about 900 students. So I was doing what I loved. When this appointment came up as president, I have to say it does take a question, like, what do people see in me that would qualify me for a position like this? But on the other hand, as I gave it some thought and some prayer, it came clear to me that God was calling me to this opportunity, to this service at this time in my life. And I found confidence in a number of ways. First of all, from our sisters, from the community, which I'm a member. There is a remarkable legacy of our founding sisters of Mary College, and it's a legacy of service. that rises from the sisters' deep love for the people of the prairie. Our sisters just loved the people in North Dakota, and I think as they dreamt about this college, they saw it as an opportunity to meet some real needs. I took courage, too, from my predecessor, Dr. Harold Miller. He became my mentor. There wasn't any kind of a formal agreement at all, but I learned so much from him, a visionary and a lot of business savvy. And I never heard him say this, but here's how he lived. He believed if good things were going to happen at Mary, we had to be first. We had to be fast, and we had to be flexible. That was a great learning for me. And finally, our community, the quality of the people at Mary, I found that the knowledge and the information that I needed to be able to start in this new leadership role for me was actually in the institution of which I had been a part. But what I needed to do is to be humble enough to ask and to listen. And so for the first couple of months, I did that. I sat in conversation with everybody who'd be willing to sit with me, our faculty, our staff, people who were in the front line of serving our students. And I basically had two questions. The first question was, what are the issues today for our young school? And secondly, where are the opportunities? I never stopped from that moment. I never stopped listening to those I served, and I never stopped learning.
You know, Dr. Harry Miller, who you mentioned, turned 90 years old last week, and this month he retired from his service at the University of Mary. And so until this month, 3 of the presidents of the university were still working there. And isn't it news to Greg Tavine that the sisters who came to Dakota Territory in 1878 were the first emerging prairie movement?
Gary, you've talked about the importance of, the people you surround yourself, particularly in business. Can you, in your employees, and what a secret to success that is, can you give us your philosophy as it relates to building your team?
Well, we're only going to be as good as our employees make us. And the thing is, you surround yourself with people that have similar attitudes that I have, and who want to get out there and make a difference in our company, and who are very. I was a C student in high school, and so I always hired people that were smarter than me, right? And so, and at first I thought I could do everything better than they could, but I quickly learned that they could do it better than I. So I need to become more of the leader and sort of develop the vision to where I wanted to go. Now, in the early days, the vision wasn't great, right? But as time progressed, the vision continued to get larger and greater and helped us become what we are today.
Gary, I think the vision turned out pretty good.
Yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with it.
But it takes time, doesn't it, to grow that vision? In other words, in the early days, sometimes things are tricky.
They look different when we're 25, right?
Yeah.
And different at 30 and different at 40.
Right.
And the thing is to capitalize on those visions after you get them. How can we make things better for our company and for the employees? Because I knew if I could take care of the employees, they would take care of me. And so whenever I helped make the employees money, they would help make me richer, right? And that's why I started the ESOP program, was that they become owners with me. And so when I became a billionaire, they received $500 million in their retirement accounts. So we both won. And it got me to a place where I am today.
And sister, along the same lines, the early days for you, I'm aware that there were some pretty stiff challenges. We have a lot of wind in North Dakota, and the university is on a high bluff, and sometimes the wind is pretty stiff. For you and for your predecessors, there were great challenges. And so as you look back on those first days just like Gary was talking about at the early days of his business. What were some of the challenges you faced? What did you hope for your leadership to achieve? What were you dreaming about? And as I think about your grit and your resilience, how has your leadership style evolved through the years?
Thank you. I was captivated by the dream of the sisters. The founders talked about creating a faith community of learners and that they would prepare students to become leaders in the service of truth. And as Mary was growing, I often said that judge us. The real distinctiveness of the University of Mary is in the success of its graduates. We were very fortunate. We always had a wonderful placement record. Our students were in the workplace. But then my next question was, when the graduate is in the workplace, what is it they bring to the workplace that is truly distinctive, that is more than what their colleagues would expect? And I kept going back to this idea of leadership. And that's when I learned you cannot impose a vision. That's when I learned if a leader wants to make a change, it's only to the extent that you are willing to listen to those you serve. A leader will set the direction, and I was able to say, here's the reality today. Here's where we're at. If we want to get better, if we want to be more competitive, we have to change. What will we look like in 3 years? What will we look like in 5 years? And that was pivotal for me, because that's where I learned that it's a shared vision. That's where I needed to listen, because that vision had to be a vision of everybody who was part of the Mary community, so that everybody could see there was no disconnect. I think the disconnect originally came when I started talking about this idea of leadership. Our image of leadership typically is top-down, command control kind of leadership that breeds nothing but distrust. And so with only that model there, I hadn't done a good job yet of putting forward this idea of the servant leader. But as we began developing that vision, everything changed. And so at that point, the role of the leader, my role, was to continue to reaffirm and to find as many ways as I could to talk about vision and these values of being the servant leader. And that vision then became a powerful magnet for commitment on behalf of those who indeed had to implement the plan, set forward the strategy.
Gary, you know, I've gotten to hang with you now for over a year, and I've gotten to witness, you know, your deep love of people, particularly those that might be suffering. Can you describe this hyperbaric oxygen treatment as I know you've called it one of your most fulfilling endeavors thus far, although you've given millions and you plan to do so in the future. Tell us why this has been so meaningful for you.
You know, I think it goes back. What I tried to do, my vision originally was to how do I make my employees rich, okay? And so I think we accomplished a program that does that. And so then I gave a lot of things away donations that buildings are named after me. And what I found that I'm better off, in my mind, I feel like if I can change people's lives, it brings me so much pleasure in changing people's lives. In hyperbaric oxygen can do it. We take patients that are suffering, families are suffering because of traumatic brain concussions, traumatic brain injuries, and we can bring that patient back to enjoy a normal life. So, and then in what it does, it not only helps the person, but it helps the wife, the kids, and to get back to a normal life. Because if you have a brain injury, it's sort of like a stroke. If you've seen stroke patients, they don't always treat the ones around them that good. And so concussions and stuff work the same way. And we found out that concussions, if you get a concussion, typically 28 days later, there's about 28% of them still have a problem. Well, they're struggling in school, and this this hyperbaric oxygen has so many things that it can do to help change people's lives for the better.
Clearly, we've had veterans show up in our office. Gary's been stopped on the street, and thanked because lives were transformed, because people's brains have been healed. They're able to carry on life in a joyful manner as opposed to having a headache or feeling out of sorts. We've seen students with concussions. We've had mothers come in and present to our board of directors whose lives have been impacted. So Gary is a #1 philanthropist, but he uses his business sense to figure out how to get it done within a few months, where a clinic is in operation in Fargo, where this did not exist in Fargo. And he got the best physician in the country here within a matter of 6 months. So it has been deeply fulfilling for DMF as well to be a partner, to raise money, the vision being a center of excellence in the future. Thank you, Gary, for your commitment
You're welcome.
to that. Monsignor?
I think it's important, everybody, for us to just take a moment to gaze upon what's happening here this morning on this stage, to take stock of our lives. We should notice our lives as they go by. 1 Million Cups in Fargo has brought together today on one couch 2 true-blood North Dakotans. One is the first billionaire in the state, and the other has lived a religious life of poverty all of her adult life. And yet they're both North Dakotans through and through. And sister, this is my next question for you. You know, as we look at the landscape in the nation, it's no secret that there are really stern challenges for higher education. We were in the Dean's Day earlier this morning with all the deans of the local business schools in North Dakota, sponsored by the Berry Foundation, and we were talking about some of those challenges. Those challenges have always been present, and they're on our horizon right now too. As you think about the role of innovation in meeting those challenges over the course of the 60-some years that you've been involved in the work of the University of Mary, during your 31 years of leadership, what's the role of innovation, and how does North Dakota play into that? The spirit of place that we all hold so dear as people of this place.
As you mentioned North Dakota, one of my favorite images is the image of the seed that the farmer plants, and it falls into the ground and dies. But when it springs to life and is harvested, and I'm thinking specifically of North Dakota, we feed the world. When it springs into life, and we feed the world. And it seems to me in higher education that we not only have a wonderful opportunity here, but a responsibility to prepare our graduates to feed the world with a sense of purpose, to feed the world with meaning and with joy. What a different world we would have if we would come into some of those skills of service and understanding. Now, at Mary, we believe that every one of our students is called to leadership, and that you grow into leadership through service. Well, when you talk about leadership, it comes to that point where where each one of us has to make a choice. And I think that choice in how we are going to lead depends on our view of the world. The French-American author Anna Isnin says, "We don't see the world as it is, we see it as we are." And so if the world is kind of all about me and I've got this narrow little view and I've built a stage for me, that will likely be my style of leadership, which would be very much the hierarchical kind of top-down command control. If, on the other hand, our view of the world is an openness and a willingness to consider the needs of others, that other-centered world, I think there we begin to see servant leadership. Now, that we've always had servant leaders. Robert Greenleaf wrote a little essay in 1970 called "The Servant as Leader," and he talks about what is that servant leader? And he said, well, for one thing, the servant leader will always have other people's highest priority needs met before their own. And he also makes clear that the challenge, again, is how we view leadership. I mean, typically we view the leader as someone ambitious, aggressive, egocentric. We read about the leader who's armed. I remember reading a quote from William Isaacs who says, "We don't listen, we just reload." So if that's our view of life, it's very challenging to sit up and say, I am willing to be seen as someone who serves. Because somebody might say, what? You're putting yourself out like a doormat, for heaven's sakes. What is this? To be willing to serve and to be seen as one who serves. It begins with the very primary skill of the servant leader, and that is to listen. To listen, which is a huge gift if we are willing to listen. Because number one, you give your time. It'll never come back to you. And number two, it's calling on you to be fully present. Active listen means that we're fully present. Right now, I'm starting to think about, I wonder what we're having for lunch. No, that's not being fully present to you. So this gift of time, being fully present, not relying on the screen, not relying on social media, actually giving each other a face-to-face encounter is a huge gift because it is such a powerful symbol of simply saying, I care. I care about you. You can trust me. My leadership suddenly takes on a credibility that it never had before. You know, that famous statement, the new CEO, the chair says to him, we can give you the crown, but we can't make you king. How does a leader gain the credibility of those they serve? The primary skill is to listen. Another primary skill is persuasion, because you want the motivation of those you serve to come from their own heart. You want them to have that intuitive kind of instinct that this is the vision I want to follow, this is the leader I believe in. So servant leadership, it's a call, but it's a call to make a choice of sacrifice and service. But what a magnificent call to be living life and feeding the world in behalf of others.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Great. Outstanding. You know, Gary, in follow-up to that, how would you say your leadership style has changed through the years, from your beginning years to where you are today? And then talk about your vision for the future as a servant leader.
I think that when you first start out, you don't really lead. You partake with your employees to make it successful. But when my growth really started to happen is when I started acting more of a leader. In listening to Sister Thomas, you have to listen to your employees and listen to what their ideas are, and then implement. Sometimes it's better implement. It's easier for them to buy in if they come up with the ideas, right? Then they want to make it successful.
Yes.
And so by listening and then leading today is I just need to give them sort of the vision that they've helped me create, which is important, and then get the heck out of the way, right? So they can implement it. I just have to make sure that then I monitor that. I monitor that are we getting done what we said we were going to get done. And typically, they blow those goals away easily.
Yes.
Because they've already bought into what we're doing, right?
You know, I think we have a question from the audience. One of our living legends, Bill Marcille, is here, but he makes me nervous because I think he's a recovering journalist, and so this might be the hardest question for those on the couch.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege for me to ask the first question, but I want to emphasize how lucky we are today to have two people on the stage who have truly, truly made a difference in the state of North Dakota, and I think it's wonderful. And thank you for sharing this time with us. The profound discussion that has evolved so far is terrific. And I flipped a coin, and Gary lost, so I'm going to ask him the first question. Gary, I grew up in a small town as you did. What portion of your success do you attribute by growing up in Daisy, North Dakota?
I think the part of growing up in Daisy is I was fortunate to work for two entrepreneurs. They were farmers, and so they really taught me how successful they become because they were entrepreneurial. So my $50 a month was just sort of a token for in comparison to the amount of knowledge I learned from them as entrepreneurs. And I think growing up in a small town, I think we learn a lot of great values, such as everybody's kind to each other. Small town people, they want to help each other if they're having problems. And so the values in a small community, even in Fargo, I see it, is that the values that we were able to pick up when we were young has carried on to how I treat the franchise companies, how I treat my bankers, because I think they do things for me that they don't do for other people just because I've treated them really well and made them feel good about doing business with me.
Well said.
Gary, you haven't stopped. Tell me what your plans are. You got 50 hotels right now. What's your plans for 2020 and beyond?
Well, we've got 25 motels under construction now that will be completed by December 31st next year, and I'll continue to build probably, I don't think I will never quit, right? So,
Even Connie is clapping.
I have a wonderful wife, so I need to take care of her. That's important.
You know, Pat, I think we've seen this morning how much pressure there is in my life because I'm shepherding an institution where the name of the business school and the flourishing of the business school is Gary Theraldson, and that's a lot of pressure. And then imagine everybody having to fill the shoes of Sister Thomas, which is a nearly impossible task. And we all love lawyers so much. A lawyer once told me something very touching and memorable. They said, before you ever judge a person, walk a mile in their shoes, because when you do judge them, you'll be a mile away and you'll have their shoes.
He's good. He's very good.
Sister Thomas, what can this community do to support you?
Oh, thank you. With that question, I think of one of my all-time favorite teachers, Parker Palmer, who once made the comment that you can tell a culture is losing its meaning and its purpose when the elder citizens walk across the street to avoid meeting their youth. I think what we can do for each other is to be there for our rising generation, to never leave our youth alone. Don't leave our youth alone. Whatever age or wherever we are, not only do we have gifts to share, not only does Gary, when he comes to the University of Mary campus, can speak to our students, but he lives it. He models what it means to be a servant leader. So our young people will say to you, they need models. I remember a student saying to me one time, "Sister, servant leadership is an oxymoron. It does not make sense. You can't put etc." Later, she wrote an article in the school column that simply said, "I finally believe, but I had to see it." So that kind of support for our rising generation and giving them examples of kindness and service and forgiveness and reconciliation so that they can see it. Imagine what this world would be like if we listened to each other again. So that kind of modeling, listening to each other, forgiving, we don't always have the right answers, but we always have fantastic opportunities through relationships. Let's relate, let's build friendships with our youth, with our next generation.
Gary, what can the community do to support you?
I think goes along with servant leaders is become servant leaders. I think in this crowd, I think a lot of you already are real good servant leaders, but we always can do more to help the community. And of course, help them refer them two things. Refer them to get, if you have friends that are in difficulty, help them by, especially with brain injuries. We can help them in our clinic. The second one is that Pat and his group have a great program called Giving Hearts Day. Get involved with it. There was 37,000 people last year gave on Giving Hearts Day. In his goal, we want him to meet his goal, which is what? Is it 50,000 next year? 53,000. So help him make his goal. It's a wonderful program they've got, and it goes to hundreds of charities. And by doing that, you're helping the community. And I thank you in advance for doing it.
As we wrap up today, I just want to tip my hat to Monsignor and Pat for preparing, for being present, for being here. And on behalf of all of us, Gary and Sister Thomas, let's give them a big standing ovation.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, as we wrap up, I need 120 more
Gary,
seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you. You did a fabulous job.
So as we wrap today, I just want to shine a little bit of light to think about how it takes all of us. Education, nonprofits, for-profits, we all have the ability to take risks. I want to give a big thanks to Roger and Alex for volunteering with us. This is Darby's last week leading 1 Million Cups. So in her tenure over the last year, she's hosted college students like Chris, who's like a celebrity. She's hosted guys like Adam Thielen as the host. She's done Living Legends Day. She's going to be working on TEDx Fargo as the co-leader of that coming up this summer. So let's give a big round of applause to Darby. Thank you, Heat Transfer Warehouse, Recovering Coffee. We have a series of sponsors that should be on the slide. These are the folks that week in and week out support us. Big thanks to them. If you know anybody that works at any of those organizations, send them a text, give them a call, let them know how much you appreciate this platform. Next week, we are going 1 Million Cups on the road. So we are going to West Acres to hear from arts and retail entrepreneurs. We're going to be hosting that outside Buffalo Court, which is where Herberger's once was, and they were beat by the internet. And so we're going to be talking about innovation and retail. In 2 weeks, we're going to Microsoft, where there's startups that are doing incredible things. So we're going to be going on the road. We got a big set of events after that. In 3 weeks, we'll be here at Women's Entrepreneurship Week. We have Dot from Dot's Pretzels. How many like Dot's Pretzels? Yeah. Dot will be signing 3 bags of Dot's Pretzels, so you don't want to miss that. So we got a big set of events coming up. And as we wrap, 1 Million Cups is powered by the Kauffman Foundation, and there's 190 communities around the country. One of our teammates, Danny, is at the Organizers Summit yesterday. 1 Million Cups Fargo got a big award. What people are noticing around the world is the community. They're noticing that Fargo is a place that folks step up. I challenge each and every one of you to be relentless in your support of innovation, of risk-taking, and collaboration. When I think about the backgrounds of Gary and Sister Thomas, and their commitment of service, of collaboration, the unique potential of them working together, one a billionaire, one who's chosen a life of poverty, it is their connection and collaboration and a shared vision that we can change the world. It's an honor to live in this place. It's an honor to be here at this time, and it is our responsibility to make the biggest impact possible. Let us live our lives with gratitude and service, and thank you all. We'll see you next week at 1 Million Cups!